Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Coach T with Chicago Bears 360 back with another live show for you. Today, we got a hot one. Listen, we got our man. Listen, I'm going to do a quick intro for y'all. You know what I'm saying? He's the voice 670 to score, one of the voices, but the voice for 670 to score. I don't mind saying the voice for HOL podcast as far as educational endeavors. He's DePaul U. I think this is Roll Tide, which my dad would be proud of. You know what I'm saying? Roll Tide for those that Roll Tide. The Lissigo Award winner, comic book writer. I can't talk today. I'm so excited. Claims to be the people's champ, which I'm going to give him that because he definitely had our back in the whole Justin Fields debate. Anxious to talk about that. Listen, I ain't going to belay it much more. Over 25 years in the business, Mr. Laurence Holmes joins the program today. So excited to talk to him about Bears football. So y'all know what's next, man. We got to cue the intro. Maestro, let's go. Contra.
Life like chess move to pieces, you know I roll in silence. On the road to them Benjis, I fill my teeth with diamonds. I'm high as fuck in the sky, you would've thought I'm pilot. I'm from Chicago, it get ugly, fill the streets with violence. Life like chess move to pieces, you know I roll in silence.
Past, present, future. We bear down.
And just like that, we're back, Bears fans. None other than Mr. 670 himself, Laurence Holmes in the building. Welcome to the program, Laurence Holmes.
Coach, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Man, this is the pleasure is all ours over at his Chicago Bears 360. We had this one in the works for a minute. Man, I can't even talk. I'm excited, man. I've been trying to get to it for a minute. Hopefully I got all the accolades correct. Is that true? You Roll Tide for real?
Yeah, undergrad at DePaul, graduate school at Alabama.
That's what's up. My dad's probably watching on.
So basically, my whole life I didn't have a college football team because DePaul stopped playing college football in 1939. Still undefeated since 1939, as we like to say in Lincoln Park. And so when I went to grad school, it was kind of cool to then go to, at the time where I had the worst college basketball team, I had the best college football team. So it's fun. There's no zealot like the converted, right? So
right
now I'm all about that Tuscaloosa life. And I had like a really incredible experience at Alabama that was more academic than anything else.
Right.
But that university, man, like they know how to, the Southern charm thing is real. And when I applied to Alabama, it was one of those things. I had been out of college so long, Coach, that they ask you to take the GRE exam. And at the time I was like, man, I'm not taking the GRE. And so Alabama, they called me and they said, hey, we saw that you started your application, but you didn't finish it. We just want to know why for our records. And I said, well, I've been working in the industry that I want to study. I've been out of school for a long time. The GRE is not something. And so they were like, okay, cool. 24 hours later, they called me back and they were like, we have looked at your work experience. We're going to waive the GRE. Would you like to be a student at the University of Alabama? And I was like, yes, I would. And from then on, man, the charm offensive was on. They sent me all sorts of stuff. They were like, hey, we know you're in Chicago. Do you want to come down to Tuscaloosa for orientation? Mm-hmm. We'll pay for it. I was like, what? Yeah, I'm going. I'm going. So I spent 2 days in Tuscaloosa, fell in love with the campus, fell in love with it. And 2 years later, I walked out with a master's degree in journalism. And that place, man, like that place is just amazing. The type of people that they have teaching there, I was truly inspired. So I was able to take some stuff that I learned at Alabama and then use it with my undergraduate students at DePaul. And it's just been wonderful. So I was an online student, but I was in Tuscaloosa 8-9 times over the 2 years that I was studying. And they really make you feel like you're a part of that community. So roll damn tide all damn day.
Like I said, my dad would be proud of this at this moment, because he's definitely a Tide fan from Birmingham, Mobile, and what is the other city there? Montgomery, frequent of Alabama. So listen, that'll be a great segue, because I'm in this, and y'all just gonna have to bear with me in the chat for a second. I got a selfish moment. Got to have a selfish moment, because I'm in transition myself, right? So career-wise, and I have some opportunities to, you know what I'm saying, further my education as well. And our producer Julius is talking about this offline. I don't know what I'm going to do. I have education paid for. I have the opportunity potentially to go to school, back to school, and get another degree, but in something different than what I went to school for originally, which is IT, computer forensics. But I was thinking about a journalism degree, seriously considering it. So any advice from the big homie would be definitely appreciated.
I would ask, like, what is it that you want to accomplish?
Right.
Like what's the goal of what it is that you want to do? Like for me, getting my master's was about what happens after I'm done in journalism.
Right.
It was about teaching, and I wanted to make sure that I had the credentials to be able to teach at the university level. Gotcha. I also really wanted to like challenge myself, but I had this conversation. I did one of my podcasts on House of L. There's this old dude at my gym, and the story, I'll make the story short, because I know that you pressed on time. We want to get to bear stuff and all that.
Right.
I was working out of the gym. I live in Chicago by the University of Chicago. There's this guy there. I would see him every day. Older dude in his 80s. He's just amazing, like amazing guy. And we were talking and stuff, and people would come up to me at the gym and be like, "Oh, I love the show," or blah blah blah. And he's like, "What do you do?" I said, "Oh, I do radio. I do a little bit of TV, and I write and all this stuff." We got into a conversation. We were talking about books. We were exchanging books. All right. And I said, have you, because I got written in a book. Doug Buffone mentioned me in his book. And that was like one of the joys of my life, because I respected Doug and loved Doug so much.
I've done some work with his nephew there.
Yeah. John's a great guy. Wonderful family, the Buffones. And I said, jokingly to this dude, like, "Hey, have you ever been in someone's book?" And he started laughing. He was like, "Yeah, I've been in a book." So then fast forward a couple days later, this dude was in Mandela's book.
Oh, wow.
So this dude was a white Jewish doctor in South Africa during apartheid. And he got exiled from South Africa because he continued to fraternize with black and colored. They use the term colored for mixed people down there. And I didn't even realize it. Mandela hid at this dude's house for 3 months.
Oh, wow. And
when people would come through, they would tell the police that he was the gardener. You know what I'm saying? So this is so Coach, this is a real dude, right? Like I've been talking to this dude the whole time, and this is a real dude. So I talked to him because he had degree upon degree upon degree. And he said to me, he's like, "Why do you want?" Because I keep thinking about going to get my PhD. People already call me doc, like my dad's a PhD, like all that stuff. And he said, "You are already what I like to call a scholar practitioner. You're teaching what you know. So do you want to go and get your PhD and then, kind of go to the bottom of the list of PhDs versus being at the top of the list of scholar practitioners?" Okay. And it made all the sense in the world to me. So are you doing it for ego? And coach, that's no diss.
No, I already got the message. Loud and clear.
I mean, black folks, for us, that's we are often have to be overly credentialed.
Right.
So you know what I'm saying? Like there is, that's a part of it. I mean, my ego is the thing that's tugging at me about having those 3 little letters next to my name and how cool that would be. If what I would suggest is make sure that whatever you're studying is functional for what the next thing is that you want to do. I have to have my master's degree to be able to teach at the university level.
Right.
Whatever you want to do, make sure that that money is being spent in a way that it will benefit you on the back end.
Right. No, that's great advice, and I appreciate the patience of the audience and time and allowing.
Yeah, sorry about that, y'all.
No. I know we did this. We had this conversation with our other player partner, Herb Howard, because I'm not wasting you guys' time and not taking advantage of having you in front of me and taking advice about, you know what I'm saying, the industry, because, you know, I found a niche, if you will, outside of being on the sidelines. Love coaching ball, love mentoring young men, love being in the locker room. You know, kids call me today and still be like, coach this, coach that. I love that part. I was talking to my daughter the other day. She said, somebody was looking for you the other day down here in South Tampa. They asked about you. I love that part of it. But the struggle was stepping away. And once I accepted that the doors were open in here, now that I fully embraced it, now I'm like, okay, now it's going to the other end of the continuum and saying, hey, do I need to be accepted in the room because I'm working on stuff to be accepted in the room? That's what it's kind of about. Like when I get in the room, I don't want anybody to think about, oh, there's some meathead football coach coming in here invading our space a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel you. But I think that, and it's funny because it's one of the things that I learned at Alabama. I took an entrepreneurial journalism class, and it was great, and it really opened my eyes. It's the reason why I started the House of L podcast. It was part of a class project, and now 6 years later, you know, we're over 3 million downloads or whatever it is, and it's fun. But I think that what you're doing now is more beneficial than you necessarily getting a degree. And again, like whatever your motivation is to go back to school, like I'm for it. I'm always about people trying to better themselves in whatever way that they can. But you've already built this.
Right.
Like you're already an expert in this.
Right.
So why not continue to kind of pour the resources of your time and your patience into continuing to build this? The other thing is that I think that we're in a space, and I talk to my students about this all the time. I work for a big box media company, right? I think it's hilarious that when I started at the Score in '98, like the Score we were a bunch of outlaws. Like it was the Wild West. And now we're the establishment.
Right.
And it's weird. It's honestly a little weird to see people being like, oh, you're not hard enough on the Bears. I'm like, do you know who I am? Like, do you know that Lovie Smith used to talk about me at the dinner table because of the questions that I would ask? And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
that's funny you mentioned that, because we feel like that now. I think me and the producer Julius have a conversation offline all the time, right? So it's a weird thing going on right now with Bears DIY media, where if I'm in the city of Chicago, Atlanta, here or Midway, hey, Coach T, and realizing that people see you differently than you see yourself. Like I'm just a dude doing a podcast that just so happened to coach the game, and I love the Bears and I love talking about football, but it hasn't sunk in that people are actually listening to what you say when you talk about football. And like you said about you guys being an establishment, that's really, I only been doing this a year and some change now, almost 2 years. And that's how, when I came in the game, I was like, okay, like who are the people to look to, who are the people to emulate? So this is how we saw you guys. So this is definitely a big moment, just like having Herb on the program. And it's like I said, again, I appreciate you but we definitely got to get into it. We got to get into it. You mentioned 670 to score. Go ahead.
Coach, real quick. Can I just say, because you brought up Herb Howard's name,
Mm-hmm.
I want to tell you something. That dude, like, I'm so impressed by him.
Yeah.
And the way that he goes about doing the job, he's light years ahead of where I was when I started out as a beat reporter.
Mm-hmm.
It's his practical experience. It's also that he's fearless. Like, that's where I think I see a little bit of myself in his coverage.
Right.
Like, I wasn't afraid to ask questions. And honestly, like, he's not afraid to ask questions just to know, like, to learn more things. On top of that, he walks in with his experience of playing, college football, and I'm really impressed with him. I think the Bears beat is in really good hands right now because it's a little bit more diversified than when I was covering the team. And Herb is an example of that. Like, that guy, he busts his ass, like, trying to get the answers to questions that people have. Right. And I just think he's the absolute truth. I mean, I've told him that. Like, I've told him, like, I tried to make myself available to him or anyone that if I can give some advice on how to do it, and he takes it. Like, that's kind of the cool thing, is that he'll be like, "Unc, what do you think about this?" And I'll be like, "All right, this, and this. This is how this works. This is how this works." And I'm kind of loving, like, my Unc status right now.
Listen, that is nothing to just pass by, hardly, as far as, what I'm saying, your role. I said this to Herb. I said, I started the show when I did it with him. I said, we're going to start out with a grievance I have of yours, because, what I'm saying, he made this statement when I had him on the show previously about, saying not being, and this is a direct quote, not being an exceptional Negro, as he put it. And I said, Herb, man, you said it and you just passed by it, and I didn't have context for that, so it stuck with me. And I said, I don't know, man, I got a little bone to pick about that, because you got to keep in mind how somebody that's starting out, right, when you kind of trying to figure out what you want to do with yourself, what you want to be when you grow up, no matter what your age is, when you see it, it's like, that's it. So I was telling Herb, I was like, bro, you don't know how I see you. So to me, I was like, it kind of put a damper on me. Then he explained to me, no, I was trying to let them know. I was trying to let them know that it's more of us coming. And I was like, oh shit, I hear what you got to say. So that was, for the people that don't know, that's the connection. So I'm giving you the secret sauce. You know what I'm saying? I got my mentor in Herb. Herb has his mentor in Laurence, and we connected just like that. So off the bat, that's where it's going. So you made a great point, and you gave me something to think about, because when I get in a room, that's all I want to do for Chicago Bears 360ers, or the 360ers, is I want to be, as a coach, I want to be able to ask the questions that I know from a schematic standpoint that'll give the fans information, right? That's going to give them insight as to what's going on and explain the whys. And honestly, the barometer for that is my dad. My dad played and coached the game. And so when he can watch the program and he can say, hey, man, I wasn't as upset because you broke down this coverage, you broke down this, and you helped me understand how this works. Then I understand. Now I know what to look for at the next game or the next series of games. So like I said, man, big shout out to you guys, man. I got to get into 670 score because, on the heels of the whole, I'm saying, Justin Field, Caleb Williams debate, you were pretty much the only person that I recognized in the building that was really like, all right, really speaking up for Justin Fields, remaining as the quarterback of the future. First of all, I got to ask you, are Danny and the crew, are they giving you, man, because, what I'm saying, it didn't work out the way we were wanting it to, like, I mean, in the tongue-in-cheek, like, jokingly type of way, like, are they spinning the block for that take?
No, because I think that it's while partly emotional, I think it's also logical. Like
Right.
it makes sense. My thing, coach, was I didn't like the way that people kind of turned on Justin.
Yeah.
Like it was this weird thing of everyone understood what he was up against. Everyone understood how he had been failed by the Bears as an organization. You would say all of that, and then people would go, but the Bears need to move on and they need to, restart the quarterback clock, and they have a chance at a generational talent, which is fine. Like, I understand why people will want Caleb Williams, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does as the Bears quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that people just ignored how Matt Nagy was in a position where he had to win to keep his job. So he tried to split the baby. He knew that he had Justin Fields here, and he didn't want to play him. But he knew if they had done so much to move up from 22-11 to draft him, that they had to do something. Right. So I think they made the biggest mistake. You either wanted to make Justin Fields the starter from day one, or make him the number 3. I would have been fine with either of those decisions. What Nagy did was, I'm going to make him the backup. Then when your starter gets hurt, you've got a guy who's probably not prepared to be a starter. Go out there, you send him to the Wolves in that game against Cleveland, and that kind of starts like the negative experience. To me, there were enough big moments with Justin Fields in year 2 and year 3 for me to go, okay, why don't we give him everything that he needs for the next year, and let's see how it goes, while understanding that the Bears have a unique position of being able to draft number 1 and take Caleb Williams. What I think that a lot of my colleagues didn't understand was there was a groundswell of support for Justin Fields.
Right.
And I saw it on the ground. Like, it's all anecdotal, but I saw it on the ground. I go out whenever I would talk to people, and people in our community. Justin Fields was that dude. And you had a bunch of kids that wanted to grow up to be Justin Fields. And it sucks that there were people that kind of threw him out like he was trash, and he's not trash. Right. I mean, what happened in the second year was bad. You had a team when they weren't trying to win games. They didn't have a roster with them trying to win games. And then in year 3, I'll say it to you. I believe he was sabotaged by his offensive coordinator. And I will offer to you the proof of that is that the first thing, because I think honestly, real talk, I think that Eberflus rocks with Fields. Right. And I think that when the players came in there and was like, no, Justin's our dude, I think Eberflus went and looked at the tape, and I think he went and looked over at Getsy and was like, you got to go. Like, even if we don't keep you, you got to go, because you don't know how to take talent that you have and fit it to whatever imaginary system that you're like. That's another thing, man. That's something that really bothers me. And it bothered me with Matt Nagy too. These guys that are so dogmatic about their scheme or their system. Systems are cool. It's a great way. And when you're talking about preps, well, you're talking about younger players, cool. You can teach them a system. But when you get someone that can go beyond the system and make plays beyond the system, it is incumbent upon you to use that as an opportunity to make your team better. Right. And I never felt like they did that. I never felt like Luke Getsy was all in on the idea of having a guy that makes dynamic plays and fitting a scheme around him. It was the same thing with Nagy, where Nagy was like, oh, we're gonna run this. Well, what if that's not working? Or what if, like Nick Foles told you, Nick Foles was like, this thing that you want to do, we can't block it.
Yeah, we can't run 20-yard pass patterns with 5-man protection. Matt. No, you hit in my space, because for one, before Matt Nagy, became unpopular in Chicago, I was like, you know what I'm saying? The toolbox is not that deep, right? I started breaking down the film, and that was kind of my introduction into Bears DIY media, because I was like, let me see what's going on here. Like, let me actually start doing the film work. And then it started with that. And then it rolled over into Luke Getsy. And I spent the last year and a half and telling people, I'm like, this dude is not it. He's doing simple things wrong. He's missing the details. Matt was missing the details. He's missing the details. I saw in a press conference where he stood up and said, well, that was RPO-ish. And I'm like, if I was in the room, I want to know what the hell RPO-ish is, because either it's a RPO in my book. I actually called friends and said, bro, have we changed the definition of a RPO? You know what I'm saying? You got zone read, you have RPO, right? They're a family concept, but they're not the same thing. So when somebody asked him a question about the Minnesota game, he said it's RPO-ish, right? And somebody published an article where they repeated where he said it was RPO. I'm like, where were the RPOs? And if it was an RPO, what was Justin's options other than throwing the screen? You can do many things with an RPO. It doesn't have to be the screen. Those would have been the follow-up questions I would have asked, and pretty much nailed ass to the wall as to give the fans answers as to what happened. It was so much that wasn't there. You make a great point. I hate to step on you there, but I had to, because you made a great point about all those things, the play calling and the logic for it. Do you think it was just a matter of people not having answers from a technical standpoint, right? From a technical skills standpoint, from a schematic standpoint, they got lazy, and the girl down the street was just, you know what I'm saying? She's just a little prettier. Just let's move on to the next thing, because she's a little cuter. She got, you know what I'm saying? She got all the things that I like.
I think that when you look at Caleb Williams, his tape is intoxicating.
Right.
Like, you see the off-platform, off-structure,
absolutely
off-schedule throws, and you see that he's kind of got that quick, like, wrist snap thing.
Yeah, he got the flick.
And it's I don't want to say it's the same, but it's similar to like Michael Vick. And I know we're talking right-handed versus left-handed.
Yeah.
But it goes. Now, Justin's got a strong arm, and I'm hearing people say that he didn't. Was like, what are you watching? I think that because Caleb has always kind of been this guy, and we've been talking about him for 24 months, like since he won the Heisman, it's been on. Like, it's
right.
He was the anointed number one pick. It almost didn't matter what was going to happen in the season. And that's the other part that I think is really weird. Like, we're just going to ignore the bad games that he had because he won the Heisman and everyone says he's a generational talent. I hate that term. I think that it puts a lot of pressure on guys to produce immediately.
Right.
And that's not usually the way it goes. Like, what we saw down in Houston this year is not normal.
Right.
Like, that's not ordinarily how it goes. Now, maybe Caleb is that dude, and it turns around, because they've definitely given him more ammunition than Justin or Mitch.
Right.
Like, so that's a step in the right direction. And shout out to Poles for that, for recognizing, why don't we make this really easier for him? I wish him a lot of luck, and I'm curious to see how this works, because I've seen the same tape that you guys have seen. And I see some of the throws, and I know that there was some of the hero ball stuff that led to mistakes with Caleb Williams was because he was on a team that they kind of had to score 45 points or they had no chance of winning, because that defense was garbage.
Right.
And I want to see how this works. I also find myself rooting for Caleb because he's a disruptor. Like, that's what I keep coming back to. I like the fact that he's challenging the status quo.
Status quo, yeah.
Like, that's a little
bit of a rebel in him.
Yeah, and Coach, I gotta tell you, man, my phone is filled with text messages and DMs from old school football people who have no idea what to make out of Caleb Williams.
What is
and
this?
so honestly, like I'll just tell you, some of them have created narratives about him that I am uncomfortable with. And one of the things that, I mean, this is kind of a bigger issue when it comes to media.
Right.
Not everything that you're told needs to be told.
Right. Right.
You have to have a filter, and your job as the person that's relaying the information to the people is, if people are telling you stuff that you kind of question, when you push back at those people, does it serve them? Who does it serve when you get pieces of information?
Right.
You don't have to just run to your blog or your pod or on your radio show and just say really, really try to distill it down, fact check it with other people, that sort of thing. One of my fears about kind of where things stand is that there's been a lot of one source reporting, and that shit is dangerous. You can get into a lot of trouble that way.
Yeah, I've already had an experience related to Caleb Williams and a story connected to another coach, and was just like, I'm gonna stay consistent. I haven't said anything about character on the program. The whole premise of the show is Chicago Bears, football from a coach's standpoint, the schematics, the film, build our takes off of the film. So I'm staying away from the alleged character stuff, the, what I'm saying, this, that, and the other, all the things. And I think I know where you're going in terms of the people, the old heads that probably don't understand a lot of this new wave, what I'm saying, dressed and all that stuff. But I want to ask you this, because someone asked me a great question on the heels of the Ryan Poles decision to go with Caleb Williams, presumably. They asked me, said, Coach, what did you miss in your logic? Because it was all logic. You know what I'm saying? They kept Simo, they kept Dre. They're going to run it back. They're going to keep the offense because it's the shortest path with Justin. And I said, man, the hole in my logic was the thing that I built this program on, which is it's the schematics and my personality as well, because I do politics. I'm a straight shooter. It's the Marine in me. And I said, I think the whole was, Ryan Poles kind of got into the political game as well, got caught up in that and buying himself some more time with this decision or the financial decision, all that part of it, because I'm expecting maybe you against the grain a little bit and go with strictly football and go in, hey, shortest path to winning is keeping the guy. But I think he got caught up. What do you think perhaps, maybe it was a blind spot that you probably maybe got caught up in this situation? Mine was the politics problem.
Well, look, my position on this was I want them to keep Justin, but I knew that wasn't going to happen.
Right.
I just wanted people to understand that he was really dealt a bad hand and that has to be considered.
Right.
I agree with you. I think that the smart play, if you're Ryan Poles, is to move on from Justin and draft Caleb Williams. It puts 3 more years on his contract.
Right.
He gets the opportunity to go, look, I got a rookie quarterback. Now there should be an expectation,
right,
that they're trying to win next year. There should be. But I get it. Like that's a really smart thing to do as far as self-preservation goes. And the people who were making the argument about the quarterback clock, they're right too. Like from a business standpoint,
yeah,
it makes all the sense in the world. My problem is that whenever we have discussions about sports, it feels like, and look, I'm not totally on, I'm a very analytical guy. I'm not totally on vibes, but I think that people start to see themselves as the franchise, and that's weird. Like we continue to talk about things as if it's just running a business. Right. And when you do that, it's a very dangerous place. So I just want to kind of remind people that the human element plays such a role in all of this stuff that when some of this stuff doesn't work out, sure, it's justifiable from a business standpoint, but was it the right move?
Yeah.
And everyone will, most of these executives want to be in a position where they can make the defensible move. And I don't want to kind of reduce Caleb Williams to that, because I think that Caleb Williams is, his talent, like, you see it. Like, this isn't just like, you're not doing this for Bo Nix.
Right.
Like,
right.
you're not restarting the clock for Bo Nix or even Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah.
This guy is supposed to be one of one. So yeah, you take the opportunity.
Either way, it wasn't a terrible decision. Like, it's not splitting hairs on the decision.
It's kind of it's like since I'm in Las Vegas, it's hitting 16. Some people do it all the time. Some people never do it. Right.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, because I was just down in Puerto Rico making those decisions at the tables. Like, do I hit on soft 16 or not? Like, am I hitting link up? I love playing blackjack. Do I hit on soft 16 or not? What am I doing? How's it going today? 15 is my number. I always get caught on that one. Listen, you mentioned Caleb. We might as well get into it, right? And you make a great point that Caleb it wasn't a Justin or a trash decision. It was, hey, I'm selected between potentially a good to great player to presumably, allegedly, or projected greatness, right? So with that being said, my take has been this. My only concern, and this is why I haven't fallen apart over the Justin Fields situation, because the rest of my take is still in place, right? The reason why I said Justin and the whole is because, and my concern with Caleb is still in place, right? The whole air raid system, high RPO system. And I asked Brendan Rice this when I was at the Senior Bowl. I actually talked to Kerry Joseph about this at the Senior Bowl. And I said, listen, my concern with Caleb is you have Jayden Daniels, who 90% of his pass plays, his dropbacks, are NFL reads. I didn't say he ran the whole progression. And this is the confusion. I want y'all to get this straight in the chat. People repeating my take. I want y'all to get this right. It has nothing to do with plan and structure. It has everything to do with what Lincoln Riley asked him to do. This team, air raid offense, and the statistic that I had, which was repeated by Ryan Leaf, 75% of what he was asked to do in college, he won't do in the NFL. 25% of what he did will translate. On the other hand, and I asked the same question to everybody, Jayden Daniels, 90% of what he's asked to do in college will translate to the NFL day one. And this has been my only concern about Caleb. And the other questions, we'll get into it. You know, what is Shane's development program and plan to ramp him up into the offense? But let's go back to the Caleb part of it. Yes, raw skills, raw talent, but he's going to need Shane to be on point to become who he's supposed to come. And we don't have the greatest history. I want to hear your perspective on that whole deal with Caleb.
All right. So to be fair, I am an air raid disciple.
Oh, okay.
I love air raid.
Here we go.
I spent 3 years coaching high school right after I got out of college.
Okay.
And I taught a little bit of air raid. I love air raid. I'm not air raid certified yet. Maybe one of these days I'll challenge myself and see Coach Mummy and get certified.
Yeah.
I love it as a concept. To me, though, what you want is you want to marry air raid concepts with West Coast concepts.
That's a
and
great
where I see that taking place, and I know it's not fair, that's what's going on in Kansas City.
Yeah.
That's a perfect marriage of air raid and West Coast.
It's a great point. I never thought about that.
with the quarterback who's able to do it.
Yeah.
Now, not every quarterback is going to be able to do it. I agree with you about that. I think that I have a lot of questions about the Lincoln Riley quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
because of that system.
Right.
And there's going to be success. And I'm not sure what to do with Jalen Hurts because he's a little bit pro style from his 3 years at Alabama and a little bit of the Lincoln Riley system. So he's kind of a hybrid too. And we saw him have some success. Caleb's been playing this, attack grass type system for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
What is he going to do when he is dealing with defenders that are stronger, faster, bigger?
Right.
Is he going to be able to handle that? When you see some of his improvisational skills, you say, yeah, he'll be able to work his way through it. Like watching him in the pocket, I have seen enough of him being like, okay, 1 covered, 2 covered, 1 he's still covered. Screw it, I'm leaving.
I'm out of here. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. Like I honestly wish that Justin would have had a little bit more of that.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that he didn't feel so compelled to have to be like, I gotta go to 1, 2, 3, back to 1, and now I'm sacked. Instead of being like 1, 2, screw it, I'm taking off and I'm getting a positive play out of this. I'm excited to see what Shane Waldron does, because what people have told me about Waldron is that he's a really good teacher and he's not dogmatic. He is not married to scheme.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he's not married to it. So I look at what he did with Geno, and I think that this is a part of the NFL game that's so underrated. Coach Carroll said Geno would be in practice and Geno would have these moments where he wouldn't get it, right? Or he would miss a throw and he would be down on himself.
He would tank.
And Pete Carroll grabbed him. He's like, hey man, we're not doing that. Like, you're great. Yeah. You're the starting quarterback here because you're great. It's those little, and Geno said in an interview that changed his entire perspective on who he is as a quarterback. Like, imagine that. This guy gets to his mid-30s.
Right.
Before somebody opens. Yes.
Yeah, no, so you're echoing the very, and I haven't spoken a whole lot about the almost 4 hours in 2 days of conversation I had with Kerry Joseph on the show. That's almost verbatim what Kerry talked about the first night we sat at the bar and talked football. He was like, everything about Geno had to do with, it was between the ears. Once we got Geno straight between the ears, everything else unlocked. He was like, it was almost like we had to take a step back from football, work on the person Geno, and reassure him and remind him of who he was. And once we reminded him of who he really was, he was that dude. He was like, once he realized we cared about him as a person, he said, you saw the light come on, and then everything after that, he was in, he was another dude. So no, I had goosebumps when you said that, because I was like, that's exactly what Kerry said.
And you know what's cool about Caleb is there is a confidence that I think a lot of people look at with him and say arrogance. And I think it will serve him really well. There are going to be bumps in the road. Like you're dealing with grown men, you're dealing with millionaires, you're dealing with guys that have egos and have needs, not like 18 to 22-year-olds where everyone knows that you're the best player on the team and you're the leader of the team. He's going to have to go through that, but I think his confidence will serve him really well in that regard. I was talking about this a couple weeks ago about Pro Day, and for those people who are concerned about Caleb, the teammate, and I've had folks, same stuff that you're talking about. I've had people offer me that up as, not a great teammate, all this stuff. I don't know what to believe, but I'll tell you this. He didn't have to throw at USC's pro day.
Right.
He did, though.
Mm-hmm.
And him throwing at USC's pro day says to me that he's a good teammate.
Right.
And here's why I say that. Those other guys on USC's offense, why would you want, when you have the best quarterback in the country, why would you want to do your pro day with someone who's not that good?
Right.
Caleb is making those guys look good too.
Right.
So while it meant nothing to him, the Bears were going to trade, they're going to draft him anyway, or Washington was going to trade for him and draft him anyway. He was going number one, no matter what. Him being out there at USC's pro day, that says to me that he cares about those guys upping their draft stock.
Right.
And that's the type of thing that can't be underrated. Like you need to acknowledge that if you're someone that's been saying he's not a good teammate, he's not good in the locker room, look what he may have made those guys hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, just by making them look good. Right.
And I've heard for everyone, hey man, run this story. I've probably had about 4 or 5 of those where people, he's a good dude. Probably starting with one of the people closest to him, and Brendan Rice. He was like, he's a dog, man. And I think the part that I loved about what Brendan said about Caleb was, he on our ass in practice. He's like, if something's not right, he don't like it. He's a perfectionist in a good kind of way. It's not like he's dogmatic and browbeats everybody, but he sets a level of expectation and excellence in performance. And even though sometimes it's outside the parameter of our achievement, he's like, he doesn't care. He's like, listen, I'm going to raise the level of expectation. I'm a demand more of you and than what you may see in yourself. And as a coach, you love that. You like, hey, I don't have to say it. This dude is going to say it. So let's go with it. Let me ask you this. What do you think? Do you think he has enough around him? Like starting up front, because my concern shifts from Shane to, okay, I believe, and this has just been my theory. I believe Ryan and Ian and maybe Simo believe in their ability to spot offensive line talent probably better than the other 31 group of GMs in the league. And perhaps that may create a blind spot for them. And instead of going after blue chip offensive linemen and just going ahead and sealing the deal, they do discount shopping. And I'm not liking that deal. What's your thoughts on that?
The Bears, I would love to see Caleb really matched with a center who knows what he's doing. And it seems like this was a free agent class of centers where it was worth maybe overpaying.
Right.
I think that the Bears probably ended up getting the 3rd or 4th best of those centers. Now, maybe it works because, like you said, the one offensive guy that they kept was Chris Montgomery. They believe in him, right? So maybe they can fix it. I'm not a believer in Braxton Jones, and I think that a lot of people's perception of Jones is he's serviceable. And you're right. And we grade him on a late round grade instead of, well, now this is the NFL. It's cool that he's available and he plays every week. That's very much important. I want the ceiling to be higher for the left tackle than Charles Leno. Charles Leno's fine, but I want it to, if you're bringing in this young kid, I want him to be able to play in the pocket with the level of confidence that he showed for most of his games at USC. And if you don't get the offensive line right, you're putting him at a deficit. So I think there are still things for them to do. I love the nasty of Tevin Jenkins. I would prefer that he and Darnell Wright are together. Right. That's it. Let's not play these games where he's like that. That right side to me could be deadly if those two guys stay together and Tevin Jenkins is able to stay healthy.
Yeah, they had an opportunity at a Hall of Fame tight right side of that offensive line had they kept them together. I thought that too. What about the other skill positions that you think? I mean, we got Keelan Allen. I asked somebody before, right? As a coordinator, if I'm thinking about defensive coordinator, I ask people, does Keenan Allen and DJ Moore and the tight ends, do they scare you as a coordinator? And I want to hear your opinion on the other skill. I love Swift. I love our run room. But I don't know how I feel about the wide receiver room at this point.
I think the Bears need a pass catcher at 9.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Brock Bowers would be a lot of fun, and he would create some of those matchup problems that you and I are talking about.
Right.
I look at the two receivers. I love them both. DJ Moore is his catch radius. Like, he's not a big guy, but his catch radius is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
He's also really smart, and I think that he's gonna work with Caleb.
Mm-hmm.
Keenan Allen is one of the smartest wide receivers in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that he works the route tree, the way that he understands in zone, all right, I see what they're trying to do. I know that the chalkboard says I'm supposed to do this. Here's the open space. I'm going to sit. Right. And once he and Caleb get on the same page when it comes to that stuff, I think trouble's brewing, man.
Yeah, he could almost be Caleb's Travis Kelce. I know they play different positions, but one of the things that Travis does for Pounds is he helps him read coverages, right? So you don't have to be, you know what I'm saying, a coverage juggernaut when you have a guy like that. And, you know, hey, he's always going to be in the right space. Let me just go to him right there. So I think you made a great point right there. I'm going to let you finish your point, though.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, that's what some of the most fun stuff of some of the underrated stuff with Mahomes and Kelce is watching those two guys work the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like
right.
It's and you know what happened this year is that Rashee Rice started to learn by the end of the season,
right?
Exactly that. Now Rashee had some issues when it came to what to do with cars, but when it came to
driving the speed limit,
yeah, when it came to understanding, this is what the play looked like on the dry erase board, but that safety didn't do that on the dry erase board. I'm just going to stop my route, or I'm going to run to where there is open space. I love that type of stuff. So I think that he's got two guys on the outside that are really good. I like Cole Kmet. I think I think that Brock Bowers is better than Cole Kmet. I'd love to have both of those guys in an offense because of what Cole Kmet can do.
You mentioned Bowers. Bowers potentially, I hadn't thought about this, right? I thought Bowers would probably be a luxury pick, but I think Bowers would be scary from a different perspective because I'm like, what do you do with that? If I come out 13 personnel and it's Cole Kmet, it's Everett, and it's Bowers, okay, I go base personnel, but they throw the ball out of it. You know what I'm saying? It's a mismatch, automatic mismatch because you know what linebacker? See, this is what you get on CB360. Now we gonna get into it. What linebacker do you put on Bowers that's gonna keep up, right? And then what linebacker or safety do you put on either Bowers or Everett that can keep up? And then if I decide to run it, you know what I'm saying, go outside zone, like how do you make your adjustment? You can't go light personnel. You can't go reduce personnel, nickel and dime ever in that situation. If we catch you and you're done, right? Because we can check to a run, and then you know what I'm saying, you cook.
And then bully ball it down the field.
Right. And that will stand up Chicago weather also. And when things after Halloween, when things start getting ugly on the lake, right? That would hold up then. Like you get me going, you get me excited a little bit about Bowers. But let me ask you this. At 9, which player do you like then if you like a wide receiver right there?
I mean, I like a Dunze. I also think that it's funny because we were talking with Sean King earlier today, the former Tampa Bay quarterback, and we were discussing different choices for them. And he was talking about the wide receivers, and he brought up Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU. And he said that he thinks he's the best. He's the best wide receiver in the draft. And what's funny is I talked to someone else who said the same thing. And I was like, what's going on here? Like, what am I not picking up? So now I'm like, let me go back and look at some of the film. And it's crazy to me because he's got. Hold on a second, coach. No, thank you. Housekeeping was coming.
I got you. I got you.
He's got the prototypical X body, but he can play in different spots. You can use him in the slot. Oh, wait, they're not listening. I'll be right back. Hang on.
All right. No, go ahead. No. I'm gonna talk about it. Take him down real fast. I'm gonna take him down, Julius. No, he's making a good point. While Lawrence is checking to that, I was going to wait until he finished and say this about what Lawrence said. Brian Thomas Jr. is probably the chat already knows how I feel. I'm not down on Roman Odunze. I'm not saying he's trash. But I have him underneath Brian Thomas Jr. I have him in the Malik Neighbors neighborhood, probably above Malik Neighbors. And all things being equal. No, you cool. That's the beauty of actually owning it, doing your own thing. So I was telling the chat, I'm smiling because I actually have Brian Thomas Jr. there. I don't know what I don't know about Marvin Harrison Jr. I didn't put him on the top, but I'm saying he's probably my 2A to Malik Neighbors for different reasons. And with those players, it's not always, hey, better player. It's like, okay, for what Shane wants to do I want Malik or do I want Brian Thomas Jr.? I already have Keenan, who's going to kill you with possession receivers. He's going to get you first downs. He's going to always make the smart football play. He's going to be the chain mover, all that good stuff, right? I got DJ who can do his thing. But now if I add a Brian Thomas Jr. who can take the top of the defense, he can be your big jump ball threat. He can be your just straight dog. I mean, I like it. That could be Marvin Harrison Jr. too, but you're probably going to have to trade up to go get him. If you can get a poor man's Marvin Harrison Jr. and Brian Thomas, then I like it, man. So I'll let you finish your point. I like where you're going with this one.
Yeah, I mean, and I wonder if you might be able to trade down a little bit, pick up an extra pick, and also take Thomas Jr. and you walk away and go, you got what you wanted plus extra.
Right.
I imagine that we've been talking about it as a show, how it's cool right now that the quarterback situation has been settled. And now we can treat the number 9 pick the way that we would ordinarily treat a number 1 pick.
Right.
Like there's so many different options. The Bears could go tackle at 9.
Right.
There are a couple of guys that are worth it. You could go wide receiver. People will get crazy at the draft and they'll over promote quarterbacks who don't need to be put in the top 10. And guys will end up there. And it ends up knocking guys like legitimate wide receivers down the list. You might be in a position to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. because people get stupid at the draft.
Yeah.
They could theoretically trade the number 9 pick, move down into the teens or early 20s and draft my guy Chop Robinson because they need defensive end help. Like there's so many different ways that this could go. It's fascinating to think about what could be for the Bears.
So we're gonna wrap up the offensive talk with this. Your boy Danny on one of those Fox shows, I can't remember which ones, compared Caleb to maybe having a Andrew Luck type rookie season. And I think the number was something like 4,500 yards, 28 touchdowns, 13 interceptions.
Oof.
You know, what's your thoughts on? I think it's a bit lofty because of the style of play the style of play. I think Andrew played, well, I know he played in a pro-ready style offense coming into the league. And this is the thing, right, with that one, right? That way I want to manage at least our listeners' expectations for Caleb in saying that I think that's a little bit lofty. What are your thoughts on the Andrew Luck rookie season being being a barometer, if you will, for Caleb's success?
I don't know if he'll get the opportunity to throw the ball that much. Matt Eberflus is still this team's head coach.
Right.
So I think that they are going to spoon feed at least early on.
Right.
I think those numbers are probably a little inflated. And I mean, the league has changed even since Andrew Luck started out 12 years ago. It is more pass friendly. So I understand that. I'd rather look more at what Geno's numbers were the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
If let's call it 38, like an average of 3,800 yards, 25 touchdowns, 12 or 13 interceptions, passer rating in the 90s, we're probably ecstatic, right?
Yeah.
If that's
and a playoff appearance.
Right?
Throw in the playoff appearance. We gotta or be in the race tight. Come on now. Is that realistically part of the equation for you, playoff?
It should be. I mean, I think that if you're Ryan Poles, you're looking at your defense, which to me is they do still need a 3 technique. They still need another defensive end. And those are not small things. Like that's a big deal, especially for the system that Eberflus wants to run. Your linebacking core is fantastic. Your back 4/5/6, I think, is exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that it's fair. While it will be unfair to Caleb, it is fair for Bears fans to look at what's happened over the last 4 years and be like, yes, it's time that this team be back in the playoff chase.
Listen, you already updated me on the defense, so I'll ask you the question about the coach, right? Because he's a defensive-minded coach. I feel like, Jared Verse is my dude. He's my guy. I just think the way he moves, he doesn't stick on blocks real well. He has an NFL body. Some questions about his level of effort sometimes in games of this play. Either him or Fisk could probably give you a top 5 defense. But I want to ask you about, because if you look at the big this thing, Matt Eberflus really came out unscathed in this whole situation. How, we don't know. Like, I think he, you know what I'm saying, he pulled a little bit of a magic trick with this situation because you hired Getsy, you hire Alan Williams, Justin is gone, Getsy's gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's gone except for Matt Eberflus in this situation. What do you make of Matt Eberflus in this whole saga? Because it's turning a little bit of you know what I'm saying, made for HBO type of miniseries as it pertains to his coaching tenure.
The Alan Williams firing was probably the best thing that happened to Matt Eberflus. I believe him calling plays allowed him to connect with players in a way that he hadn't connected before.
Oh, that's a great take.
We had Jaquan Brisker on every week, and the way that he talked about, even beforehand, Alan Williams versus the way that he talked about Matt Eberflus, very different. He felt that Eberflus listened to them when they would come up with stuff in film and say, we should do this instead of this, or we should add this to this. I think that it gave him the opportunity to stick around as a Bears head coach. Now, if they don't make the playoffs next year, we already know what it is. Like, Ryan Poles is safe. The new offensive coordinator is safe unless he's an absolute moron, which history tells us that he's not. The guy who's not safe is the head coach. His team better look buttoned up immediately.
Right.
People will allow for mistakes for Caleb. They'll allow that. The other guys, no. Everyone else has got to be on point. And if Eberflus can be around, if he can be a playoff team, then yeah, he gets to go forward. If they don't make the playoffs again, forget it.
You know what I haven't thought about as far actually with that take is we're actually set up this time that if they fire Matt Eberflus, they can run it back with Shane, and Shane already has his offensive coordinator in the building, and they don't have to do a whole lot of change. Now, whether that happens or not, it couldn't happen previous to that, right? It couldn't happen at all because after Getsy who? After Allen Williams who, right? There might have been some guys we can brought in, but we wouldn't have felt confident with those guys. I believe Eric Thomas, is it, or Davis, the passing game coordinator after Shane Waldron potentially gets to step in, get mentored a little bit more and step in if Shane moves on after this season anyway. But I think that's something to pay attention to and to keep an eye on. I'm going to ask Julius real fast, I want you to think about something because we had you so far a little bit over an hour and I got to get you out of here. I want to get you out of here. Be respectful for your time. We're going to slide to the DM section, but this is a tradition for the program, Mr. Laurence Holmes. You have to give out the Drunk Uncle Award. Now, the Drunk Uncle was tongue-in-cheek, but all the takes, all the crazies out here on social media, all this other stuff, we reward the Drunk Uncle Award on the program. And you get to do that after we slide to the DM, address a few comments and questions. We're going to allow you to give out the Drunk Uncle Award. Let's go ahead and slide them to the DM section, Julius, and let's get it going.
Did you get like some crazy DMs or what?
Very.
Surprises or no?
It's like in like blue check marks.
Yeah, like
people who be sliding and I'm like, wow, y'all fuck with me like that.
Y'all rock with us like this. Welcome to Chicago Bears 360 Coach T. Listen, y'all been hearing this chatted up, man. Mr. Laurence Holmes, Mr. 670 himself, there in sweltering Las Vegas, joins the program. I see you got the Reggie Miller. How's that 3-point shot? Still, you got a nice shot on you. Still deep from three.
Me? No, I'm my game is
your jumper. Your jumper broke.
We played at the United Center a few weeks ago. It was a sponsored event, and I had fun, and I didn't get hurt. I took that as a win.
There you go. Pull down this graphic from me. Let's pull some questions up. For Julius, we're gonna get some questions in there. Shout out to Lower Labs. You know what I'm saying? Our second ever member on the show. So I'm happy about that. Julius just is giving us a shout out real fast. We got another member. Shout out to Lower Labs member. We're a growing channel. So there you go. Let's see who else we got out there. Shout out to you, Lower Labs. Thanks for joining the family. Richard Long says Justin never understood the short leash on a black quarterback. He couldn't just be good. He had to be savior lighting. Now listen, a lot of times, you know what I'm saying? I don't try to avoid the topic. You know what I'm saying? I'll address it, you know what I'm saying, within the context of it. And I think this is going to be part of an important conversation with Caleb because as much people will try to avoid the conversation about black quarterback, you know what I'm saying, did he get a fair shot because of those reasons and the impact? I think for Caleb, Laurence, it's going to have a similar flavor, perhaps, maybe, but I think the old heads, traditionalists, maybe not like Caleb. It may not be racial, but I'll say this for Caleb. It might be because of his uniqueness, his California esque vibe. You know what I'm saying? I think he might get a little bit of, you know what I'm saying? People that don't understand, like you put it earlier. I want you to speak on that. I killed this topic during the season enough. I'll let you have a hack at it.
I think that you're probably right. I think that Justin you can tell that he kind of studied from like the Russell Wilson playbook,
right?
Where those guys never wanted to. They just kind of want to do their job, like
Right.
they felt like they had earned the opportunity to be there. They understood some of the pitfalls of
Right.
being in that position, and they kept it super vanilla.
Yeah.
I think that Caleb's personality is what will be more of the lightning rod than race. Not to say that race won't be a component of discussion, but I think his Gen Z-ness
Yeah. Let's
is
call it that.
that's what people will struggle with. The fact that he is a little bit more bold in here are the things I know, here are the things I want,
Right.
and this is how this is going to work.
And he's
Now,
already a multimillionaire. Let's
right.
that's an added component as he's one of the highest NIL earner in college football history. I heard somebody say so. He's already rich.
Being able to walk into an NFL locker room and already have money, and maybe even go through learning how to have money, because that's a thing. Coach, when I was covering the team on a daily basis, I knew a player that didn't have a checking account.
Wow.
And this player, like, we were talking one day and he got the check, and this wasn't like a voided check that you knew that it was direct deposit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what do you mean you don't have a checking account? And those types of things, there are a lot of young guys who the adulting part of being a professional athlete, there's a learning curve. With NIL money, Caleb's learning that lesson 2 years earlier.
Right.
Like, he's learning what it's like to have money. How do you budget that money? Part of the scouting process this year has to do with forensic accounting.
Mm-hmm.
They want to know how Caleb spent his money.
Right.
Like, that's part of the whole personality, whether there are any red flags, like that sort of thing. So yeah, like, it's a new day, and these younger guys are not here for the play. Let's see how it works out.
I say it wild, like I'm surprised, but when I think about it, I mean, I think about my days back in Tampa coaching, you know what I'm saying? Understand, like, the practical living and educational level of some of these players, even through college, they're not that far removed from high school people. Like, it's and I would have guys, 4 and 5 players living in a house in an apartment together, just themselves, no mom, dad around. Like, they what I'm saying, I'll put anybody on blast, but some of them was scamming and scheming to get by, like to feed themselves meal to meal and all this other stuff. So I'm not surprised to hear that. And then you come into all this money and all this other stuff, and that's going to be a part of the conversation, of course. Yeah, race and all that stuff. But I thought about something yesterday, and you kind of triggered my memory about it yesterday. Do you think with Justin, because he didn't do a whole lot of traditional media type interviews and stuff like that, he was kind of tight with the interviews and stuff. Do you think from a media standpoint that hurt him and probably people turned on him? He wasn't as open. I know he did an interview with Herb. I know he did an interview with perhaps with the other young lady. I can't remember her name.
Caitlin Sharkey.
Yeah. But I don't remember him just like being like this, out there.
To answer your question, yes, because just like you can't eliminate the human element in scouting and in football, you can't eliminate it in media. There are people who are in their feelings because they didn't get one-on-ones with Justin. And the hope is that it doesn't reflect in your coverage, but I can't say that I looked at or heard or watched some of the coverage and I wasn't like, I wonder if that person feels a certain type of way and maybe isn't covering it as fairly as they're capable of.
Right. Yeah. Because the game can be a little bit, the game can be a little bit sketchy at times. You know what I'm saying? It's not always, you know what I'm saying? It's not flowers and rainbows. Like, some people aren't going to be excited about, new faces. And see, this is why I said this about the degree situation, because I know everybody isn't be as welcoming, but y'all can stand by, because I'm telling you, we got some stuff in the works anyway. Listen, let's bring up some more comments. Let's do about 3 or 4 more. And then we're going to let Laurence give out the Drunk Uncle Award. Q for Laurence. Do you think the Bears would benefit from edge with the third down pass rush specialist, or more consistent third down DN who can set the edge like Verse?
If you're not going to get a 3 technique, give me a 3-down defensive end. I don't want the guy that comes in, because I mean, think about it. Most of these offenses are in 11 personnel, 77% of the time. You start talking about the most important players on the field, it's the quarterback and the people who chase the quarterback. So yeah, give me someone who's going to be on the field for 3 downs.
Let's run these a little bit rapid fire there, Julius. Let's go. Let's keep it going. If Poles hadn't done such a poor job with the wide receivers, could Caleb be in this system? I'm trying to figure out with the wide receivers, would Caleb be in this situation? Can Caleb elevate Velus and Tyler Scott?
I don't have a lot of faith in Velus. I have a lot of hope in Tyler Scott. I think there's a football player in there, and I think he'll take some of his failures from this year, and I think he's going to turn it into a successful NFL career.
Perhaps maybe the other part of that question is, could Shane elevate those guys? Pressure up the middle is the kryptonite for any quarterback. I think our line is better constructed now than when Fields. Sucks that he never had a competent center. Let's go to the next comment. Thank you for that, Pepe. Appreciate you tapping in. Let's go. Let's keep it going. All right, Dr. Truth back again. Waldron seems like he's willing to adjust and make some players better rather than being strict, dogmatic, like Laurence said. All right, we got some questions in there, though. I'm trying to get y'all cues out. Listen, y'all got
I'll tell you this much. For Dr. Truth, I'll tell you, I had someone that I trust, an NFL person, say that one of Waldron's strengths is that he's not one of these dudes. Like, he's not running around trying to sell you his system. Yeah.
And that's what we're going to look out for. We're going to look out for with the tape this coming up season. I said that, Laurence. So, you know what I'm saying? Grab some stuff throughout the season. Be welcome. So one of the things I want to look at is Shane's actually program and progress week over week with Caleb, what he's installing. I'm expecting to see him run the ball 12, 13 personnel early on. And, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, spoon feed Caleb along the way. A Matt LaFleur-ish type program. If you watched Jordan Love at the beginning of the last season, who he was the first game and who he became at the end of the game, I thought that was the perfect program to put a first-year starter on and develop. That, by definition, is what we mean by develop when we say develop quarterback. I'll let you chime in on that one, and then we're going to slide and set up the Drunk Uncle.
The coaching job that Matt LaFleur did this year was great, where you see this guy and you're like, wait a minute, like, this dude is showing you like the best and worst versions of both Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. And to think that they may have hit on another quarterback is terrifying. He's got like crazy arm talent. He's fearless. Now, his fearlessness, like the Favre in him, is what lost them the playoff game.
Right.
Like, he in a situation where you didn't need to throw the ball.
Right.
You threw it and you ended your team's chances of winning. But throughout the season, he had a run. What was it? 22 touchdowns and 1 interception over 8 weeks. Like that type of stuff, man. I love to see it, and I love to see that he got coached. That he understood what they were trying to do. He got coached hard, and he took to the coaching.
All right, two more. Now y'all want to start asking questions. Gee whiz, people. Come on, 360ers. Look alive. Okay. Marifa said, question for the panel. What's the most important position to need right now? Edge, wide receiver, or left tackle? I'm saying edge. Laurence said wide receiver.
No. I agree with you. The biggest position to need is edge. Yeah. I'm saying at number 9, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Bears go with a pass.
Go with a wide receiver. Gotcha. I just think I asked the question on Twitter X today. If Montez Sweat gets hurt, then what? Does this defense regress? And that's scary to me because and then Matt Eberflus can't afford it. So it messes everything up for me. Lawrence, is there a 3 technique worth drafting in the first round?
Not at 9.
Definitely not.
You know what I mean? There's a couple interesting players, but no one at 9. If you were going to trade down, then yeah, maybe.
Throw some names out, some dudes you like at 3 technique.
Give me Newton from Illinois. I like him.
I'm playing the guitar because that's music to my ears.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love Newton on tape. I'm gonna tell you this. This is my hot take. Newton, if he gets in shape, stays in shape, studies hard, practice hard, my comp for him is Aaron Donald.
Oh my God.
My comp for him is Aaron Donald. Yes. He's a force multiplier. He a problem. Yeah. I like him that much.
Byron Murphy at Texas. I like Braden Fisk a lot from Florida State. And the other guy that I like is another guy from Texas. But I wonder if he's going to be too big to be – I wonder if he's a little bit more of a 1 than a 3. T'Vondre Sweat.
Those are all my dudes, man. All my dudes, man. Loved them. Great dudes. Chatted up with them name dropping out. Chat them up with the Senior Bowl. Great dudes. Man. Either one of those dudes. Fisk is an animal. Body, crazy, interior defensive line body. You said right about DeAndre Sweat. He's a big dude. He shouldn't move like that to be that big. But we're gonna slide because I listen. I want to keep you all day, but I know how it go down in Vegas, man. I listen. I'm trying to get on the tables.
I'm trying to get back to the pool, man.
yeah. We'll talk a lot and see what the candy doing out there.
Circa is I'm telling you, if you want to stadium swim at Circa, you will have yourself a time.
Yeah, I lived there for 4.5 years. I know. Miracle I didn't get in trouble while I was out there. Let's slide to the let's go with it.
Anything is possible, got feelings in my cup. I see everything in double, got 2 blunts, I'm rolling up. I've been walking in a circle, no expression, now I'm stuck. 34 decline, cough like Giannis chasing bucks. Anything is possible, got feelings in my.
I had to cue that up. By the way, shout out to G Don't Crash. G Don't Crash on YouTube. G Don't Crash on all media platforms. G Don't Crash. That's my little jit. My jit out there doing his thing in muted. We own a whole, I guess, multimedia company here. So we made it to the point in the program, the traditional Chicago Bears 360, where Mr. Laurence Holmes has his crack at the drunk uncle. I've been waiting on this one. So I queued it up for you, sir.
All right. I'm going to give it to my guy. Alex Brown, man, was out here being drunk uncle all football season long. I was like, man, I would see Alex on the postgame show, and I'm like, did you have a run-in with Justin Fields? Like, why you got beef with him so much? Right, why y'all got beef? So yeah, that's the drunk uncle for me.
That's what's up, Alex Brown, sir. You get the whole the drunk uncle for today. What's the day? April 11th.
That's my man though. Like for real. No. AB is such a good dude. He's an incredible analyst. But I just remember like listening in, like him in golf, where he'd be on golf show, and I'm like, I'd be texting Jason. I'd be like, "Yo, what's with our guy?" Like
AB snapping. Hey,
AB
quick story.
snapping.
Quick story. I need you to link us up, by the way. Me and AB. He gonna remember me because this is part of the story. We had a pretty good debate. We had a pretty good debate in Spaces with what his name, Mikey Bear Down, me and AB. So I'm sure he won his get back because you know what I'm saying, all of my followers know that was a Coach T moment because they were like, Coach, you cooked him in the Spaces. So I tell him I need him on the program so he can get his get back and laugh at me because I definitely was going super hard for Justin Fields and he was like, nah, bro, that ain't it. So
he's such a good dude though, man. Like I adore AB, man. He made life for me on television really easy. So shout out to him. And I'd say this to his face. So I'm not speaking out of school.
No, that's all good. Yeah, that's the whole point of the Drunk Uncle Award. It's in jest, man. We've had some epic Drunk Uncle awards given out, man, on the show, man. It's just part of keeping it fun, keeping it light, but also, you know what I'm saying, you know, a little bit of friendly clap back at the same time too, man. So I appreciate you, Mr. Laurence Holmes from 670 to Score. Definitely Roll Tide. Definitely do Paul. Definitely. You know what I'm saying? Big time, man. Joining the program, Chicago Bears 360, helping us make history for our program. We definitely appreciate you, man. And also providing that wisdom, man. That part of it, you know, for me is the extra, you know, the extra sauce on it, if you will. So thank you, sir.
Glad I could be helpful, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep grinding. Keep building your audience. And I know that people look at like where I'm at or, you know, other people and be like, oh, you know, big box media is where it's at. If you build up something cool, you can make them come to you.
Right.
Like you can. Oh, wait, hold on. Before I go, Texas wanted to know like what's behind me. I'm in Las Vegas. I think I believe her name is Vegas Vicky. I think that's what they call her, but I have a lot of options, man. I'm not at the crib. I in the crib, I got like the professional setup, but Coach T was like, we doing this. And I was like, okay, like we doing this. So I got to do it from Vegas. So you get Vegas Vicky.
Vegas Vicky, man. Hey, and if you actually been out to Vegas, it's a lot more than that moving in Vegas. You know what I'm saying?
Coach, I was out on, me and Layla was out on Fremont Street last night, man.
Oh, y'all went old school with it. Fremont Street, y'all went old school with it.
Things was out here happening.
They still out here happening. I know. Listen, at Fremont Street, they still drink liquor out of brown paper bags on that side of the strip.
You already know what it is. Like it's grimy, and I am here for the grimy. Listen, on that end of on that part of the strip, you know, I gotta have that toaster on me on that part of the strip. I ain't gonna. I know exactly. There are definitely some nights where you like, you better be on your P's and Q's. You know what I'm saying? Like, you better be on it. I feel you, man. But once again, appreciate you joining the program, man. I don't take it lightly at all. You don't have to spare your time. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna definitely stay tapped in. Welcome to come back anytime. So I'm gonna check in with you. Definitely reach out to my guy Alex for me, because you already in existence, because that's how I was thinking about reaching out to next week anyway. So let's make that connection, man. But I appreciate you. Y'all know what it is, man. For myself, Coach T, Chicago Bears 360. That's Mr. Laurence Holmes, and the maestro in the background, Mr. Purdue Julius. Bring yourself up, Julius. Let the people see you. I got to give them something, man. These are all volunteer audience back there running things in the background. Also, my creative director, probably in the chat, Mr. J2K Jeremy, that does all the graphics. We building the team over here at Chicago Bears 360. So if you're watching this on the playback, stay tapped in. And y'all know how we, man, past, present, future, man. We bear down, and we'll see y'all next time. Peace.